How am I going to explain to them that I've suddenly got grey hair in my beard and that I look older?
You haven't had a beard in a really long time, so it should be fine.
That's it. It's just it's got grey, old, and I feel more like I'm 74 than 35. It's six. I've aged in time. Oh, hello. Welcome to volume 31 of Ask a Brit. Actually, I'm lying. This is volume 94. I've been away 2 weeks and I've secretly been doing Ask a Brit episodes every day. Mathematically, that wouldn't work out. It's also just a lie. This is 31. Yes, I've been away just for a little bit, needed a little bit of time out. But I'm back now and we have Christmas approaching. And as you can see here, I have a tree that is of the Christmas variety. Do you know what's missing from this tree? And I won't turn the camera around because that's going to ruin it, but you can see from the side is missing Christmas crackers. We'll get onto those a little later in this episode. But of course, this is the format in which I ask you to ask me, Brit, anything you like, so long as it's clean and doesn't, embarrass my mom, who I know is watching, I hope, anyway. And use the hashtag AskBrit. That way I can find your question in the comments below and use your question, hopefully, in next week's episode. And on that very theme, we're going to get underway. First question this week, or rather last week. It's been waiting in the queue now for quite a while. Apologies for that. I don't know why I'm apologising. It's my life. I'll do what I want. Sorry. Brooke Jonas, I don't know if you've answered this, but what are your favourite musicals? And I like the way you put the brackets around the letter U in favourite. I do that as well, to just try to, invoke some kind of humour. I put it in the word humour too. My favourite musicals, I have answered this before. And when I did, I missed out a very, very important one, and that's La La Land. New movie, very much into it. I think it recreates a lot of that old style of writing musicals that appealed to me, and I don't know what it was. I mean, I myself am, a composer, as it were. Hate to label myself, but others have, so I can too. And, I think that's the sort of style of music that I sort of gravitate toward. In many ways. So yes, I am glad you asked that because I wanted a chance to redefine my list a little bit, which previously and currently includes The Sound of Music as well, high up there. What are you doing? My cat is attacking my legs, and for those of you at home, that's all of you probably. I don't have any trousers on. I'm wearing shorts. Don't get any concerns there, but the cat was digging his claws into he's doing it now. You probably see him, well, you may not. He's down here and he's cuddling up to my leg. He's a bit too close to something else, so if he gets there, I will let you know. No, I won't. That would be probably against YouTube's advertising rules. Mark Old Geezer, in your view, what is the difference between British humour and the American humour? It's the spelling. We've just covered this. There's a U in the British version and not in the American version. That's the truth from a linguistic point of view, but of course from a content point of view or a stylistic point of view, I think there are quite a few differences, but we can generalise. I think a lot of British people think that Americans don't do satire or they don't do irony. I hear that all the time, and it's not true. Anybody who's read The Onion, world-renowned satirical newspaper, will know that Americans do get irony. Anybody that's seen Curb Your Enthusiasm will know that it's not just always laughter track-driven humour over here. But I will say, I think one of the things that defines British humour quite well, and this is just a general rule, is we do like our losers, right? I think they're often the chief drivers of our comedies. You think of Alan Partridge, you think of David Brent in The Office, you even think of Blackadder. He's always trying to scheme his way to success, but ultimately ends up losing. And it's that you laugh at quite a lot. Whereas I think, with a lot of American comedies, there is this sense of the winner, the person gets the girl or whatever it is, or they are the CEO of a company and doing quite well, or, they're Frasier, they're those types. Sure, they get their comeuppances, but I think there's a very nuanced difference as to how those comeuppances come about. But again, total generalization, and I think if we were to get into an argument of British versus American comedy, I found goodness in both. I've also found badness in both. Jane Druell, do you know what Randy Scouse Git means? It is a song title by the Monkees. I do. I'd never heard the song though until today when my wife played it to me. She's a huge Monkees fan. and I wasn't aware of this song. But Randy Scouse Git, I'll just define each of those three words. Randy, it's not the name of a cowboy, over here, or over there rather, in the UK. It means somebody who's quite sort of, sexually aroused, I suppose. I don't know why high pitch there. Often happens when I think of arousal. No, it doesn't. Gee, sorry, I'm letting you into too many secrets. Scouse, that is both somebody who, a Scouse person is somebody from the area of Liverpool, the Merseyside area where the Beatles are from. But it's also, referring to a dialect as well, a Scouse dialect. In this case, it is referring to the type of people from Liverpool. And git is just, it's another sort of slang insult, really. It just means idiot. So a few of you have been calling me a git. I know it's been tongue-in-cheek. Has it? It better have been, you little... And, Randy Scouse Git is what that means. So, all in all, not exactly an overwhelmingly complimentary thing to call somebody. Jim Krause, you're up next. Jim asks, would a Scot be insulted at being called a Brit? Yes, the Scots do live in Britain, but are they Scots, not Brits? Well... I hate to say it, my friend, but they're both, right? I mean, geographically they're both, and politically, I suppose. I have found that people from Scotland, Wales, and England, there are instances of people taking exception to the fact that I refer to them sort of blanketly as British. When I do that, that doesn't negate the fact that you're Welsh or that you're Scottish or that you're English. It's just that we are unified under that umbrella of being British, and then, to push it further, the United Kingdom to include Northern Ireland. So no, I've certainly seen occasions of it, but I don't understand it myself. I'm perfectly fine being known as a Brit, and having my Welsh brethren and Scottish brethren as part of that. It's like we're neighbours, and I like that in many ways, but so it's not just Scots, I will say that, and I don't know if there is a sort of level of pride to be had in being British or not British out there. It's all very weird to me. For me, it's terminology, it's labelling. Okay, up next we have a question from Judy Reyes, and Judy asks, when using stairs and escalators in the UK, are people supposed to stay on the left side, like on the roads, right? You'd think so. It would make sense so that we have some kind of uniformity. But I have to say, and I think this was more specific to London. I don't remember this happening too many other places, but I'm sure my British viewers will correct me if I'm wrong here. But I remember in London, it would be on the right side. You just stand on the right side if you don't plan to, run or walk up the escalators. In other words, if you're lazy, like me. And so that's to allow other people to pass you. Do you know what, though? While that rule sort of like casually exists here, I don't see it that often enforced by people. I mean, it does happen, but in London, people are militant about that. You could get beaten up for not standing on the correct side, or you could be given a traffic violation for no, that's just the roads. Don't walk in roads, especially if you're on your phone. That would be, or if you're drunk, no drunk walking in the roads. It's got off track. Excuse the pun. Not really a good one. Rena K. Oh, this is the best question of the week, I think. Because I have a rather British sense of humour. That's something I should have covered, actually, before I get into this question. Something else I think that the Brits marvel in when they're talking about sense of humour versus American sense of humour. I think we're a bit more open to toilet humour and innuendo than you would find perhaps in America. That's not blanketly true. I think that Americans do have the capacity to, talk about toilets and poo. Sorry, it'll never stop being funny in my entire life. But, I think toilet humour is something we're just more comfortable with and uncomfortable with. I think that's what makes it funny to us, is this sort of, it makes us giggle, in that kind of, we shouldn't be talking about this kind of way, but we are doing. Okay, but to get to this question, this is from Rena K. Having been in the USA now, we have a street where I live named Nob Hill. Which I always laugh at because as I read it sounds like it should mean Penis Mountain. Knob means, in the UK. But yeah, Nob Hill, things like that. You'll see things here. America is great because it uses terminology that it doesn't know, rightly so, are quite rude in the UK. I did a video about this one time, and in fact, I will link to that very video at the end of this one, and I will cease talking like a Shakespearean actor for a moment while I get through this video. Knob is a big one, excuse the pun.
Yeah, Knobs Creek, which is also a whiskey.
Knobs Creek is a whiskey. The word knob, it's just not known for meaning that over here, so that's another big difference. Size doesn't matter in this equation. So yeah, it's just really funny all round. Kenneth Varmette asks, Lawrence, is it still true that the government in the UK requires a person to have a licence to own a TV, or at least to receive a television signal? Why? Also, can you explain the fascination that the English have with beans, and especially the inclusion of said beans as a breakfast food? Beans are included because they're amazing. Case closed. But to speak to the first question, you don't have to have a TV licence to have a TV. This is specifically for BBC. BBC shows no adverts whatsoever, but the trade-off for that is that you have a TV licence that you pay. I think it's like £100 and something. I don't remember what it is or was when I was there. It's possibly increased since. And that's to have BBC channels, and I think iPlayer comes into that in some way. I mean, the rules have probably changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, but it's very specifically BBC oriented, and so you do have to have that. It's a legal requirement if you are going to watch BBC. If you don't watch BBC, if you just use it for watching Netflix or just playing on your what do they have these days, Nintendo 64. I'm behind the times, don't judge me. You don't necessarily have to have one, though I have heard instances of these TV license, inspectors coming over just to ask, why don't you bloody have a TV license, you fool? They may not be as insulting as that. That would probably go against their remit as an inspector. But they are sometimes known to come around just to check, which is a bit frightening when you think about it, quite 1984-esque. And the funny thing about that is you do have a telescreen that they're coming to inspect. Hopefully it's not watching you. But if they're coming to inspect you, the theory is you're not watching it, or at least not watching BBC. It's really weird. The more I think about it, yes, I love the BBC, and I think it's great that we have it. I would be happy to pay toward its upkeep, of course, if I was living in the UK. But it's quite strange how militant they are about it, and very legal. And it can scare some people into leaving the country if they don't pay that TV license. I'm not talking about myself. I've just heard instances of that. I'm lying. Jack Mason. I've noticed on Google Street View that there are many places in the UK where streets have their lane demarcation lines not straight. Instead, they zigzag from slightly diagonal one way to slightly diagonal the other at intervals of about a dozen feet. I'm sure the intention isn't to demand erratic driving. You underestimate British people. What is it about? Well, in fact, I think, as far as I know, it's to denote that there's an upcoming zebra crossing, as we call them, or crosswalk, as you call them. You have the sort of stop signs at the side of the roads that sort of say, just stop, and a zebra crossing, but I think we have this thing beforehand that tells people to start slowing down, and that's mainly what that is, I think. Anna Daisy Bird, this is the final question of the week, and it actually, leads us into next Ask a Brit, which I'm going to make a Christmas special. So I wanted to shout that so that you could hear it. And so that you knew what was coming, because next week, yes, I want your questions throughout this week and at the end of this video to be Christmas themed, because it's going to be on Christmas Eve that we have it. But Anna Daisy Bird asks, are there any British Christmas traditions that you wished we did in the States? Have you introduced any of your Christmas traditions to your American family? I started this very video by talking about the lack of Christmas crackers on this tree. Now, Christmas crackers, for those of you not in the know, are these sort of cardboard tube-like things, and one person grabs one end, the other person grabs another end, you pull, right, and whoever ends up with the biggest part, we're still talking about crackers, don't get dirty, gets the gift inside. They get to keep the gift inside. But the thing is, there's a huge explosion. Not huge. Again, that could be dangerous. It's just a tiny, pathetic sound that comes out. But it's kind of fun, especially when you're a child, It's very fun, you know, and one of those explodes in your face. Never happened to me. I'm not speaking from experience, but... And have I introduced them to my family? Yes, I have. Well, to my wife's family. You know, I've shown them Christmas crackers. I don't think they really understand what's going on, and I don't blame them. These are very, very strange inventions. But more so, I think people don't really get the fascination with the very thing inside. And I'm not just talking about the toy thimble, or whatever it is you win, but the paper hat. They're very silly, and they look stupid on people, and I admit that. You know, I very rarely will wear one. I don't wear Christmas hats in general. You'll find that out next week. You know, I'm not wearing a Christmas hat in next week's Ask a Brit video, wife.
Bullshit.
Censorship. Don't.
Bull crap.
Again, you can't say that either. Well, you can. I've said worse things today.
Bull.
That's one of the things that I miss. I do miss the tradition. I just don't miss the hat. So, if you have any Christmas-themed questions for Lawrence Brown, I'm speaking to myself now in those terms, you know, put them in the comments below, and I will get to them next week on Christmas Eve. It's going to be a Christmas Eve special, Christmas Day special, not Christmas. I'm not doing anything Christmas Day. Just opening presents and just gorging on stuffing, you know. That's it for this week's episode of Ask a Brit. Remember, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, where I am putting out some Christmas-themed tweets, because I am a tweeter now, and a twit. You know, so go there, and also follow me on Instagram. I've got lots of really stupid pictures and silly captions. I don't take it very seriously. And you can go to my website, lostinthepond.com. Until next week, have a fabulous week and enjoy Christmas. Actually, I'll get to say that next week. Just wait.